Hello everyone, my name is Liv and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be recommending some books that you should pick up in the month of October, aka the best month of the entire year. October is a month of gloominess, the sky is a little bit grayer, everything is a little bit darker, there's an excitement in the air because everyone's looking forward to Halloween or just like the festivities that are coming towards the end of the year. Everyone's bundling up, people are lighting candles, people are getting cozy. It's the perfect time to pick up a new read, and I have a lot of recommendations for you. Because it's the month of October, I'm gonna give you some spoopy reads. I'm not the biggest spoopy reader, but I do have some recommendations. So let's just get right into it because I just love recommending books that remind me of this season because it's my favorite season of all. So let's just get right into it. I'm very excited about this. Let's start with a classic that I think you should read in October if you have not read it before or if you wanted to reread it. Now is the perfect time to do so, and it is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Frankenstein is most definitely, oh my god, we match. Hold on, this is a moment. So Frankenstein is one of my favorite classics in the world. I love Mary Shelley, I love her writing. This is a very atmospheric, very vivid book that I wrote a lot of essays about, and I just really enjoy this story. It follows a boy named Victor Frankenstein who thinks he's like the smartest person in the world, and he's like, screw all these scientists with your dumb experiments. I'm going to become a god, and I have a terrible god complex, and I'm going to create life with my own bare hands. So he gets various body parts from a cemetery, he stitches it all together, he does an experiment, and boom, the monster is created. And then Victor Frankenstein is kind of like dumbfounded, and he's like shocked, and he's like, I didn't expect to get this far in life, and I didn't expect this to go so well, and now I'm technically a father, but I don't want to take care of this monster because he kind of looks hideous. Then we have to deal with the monster and his thoughts and feelings because he feels very much abandoned. And Frankenstein kind of deals with the fact that this one man created life but didn't take responsibility for it, and while he did create a monster, he's much more of a monster himself because he doesn't take responsibility for his actions. And it's just a very good book. I described it in a very SparkNotes way, but I highly recommend it. It's such a wonderful novel. It's not that long compared to other classic novels, and I feel like the language and the writing style is much more easy to follow. So I highly recommend it for the autumnal type of time in the year because it's so dark and cryptic and just like gloomy, and Mary Shelley knows how to set a scene, and it just reminds me of spoopy times. So I would highly recommend Frankenstein. I hope you enjoyed my terrible synopsis of Frankenstein. So the next book on my pile is somewhat of another classic, and it is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is my first Agatha Christie book that I read. I think I read it in like 6th grade because my brother was reading it for high school, and I was like, can I read that for you? So I read it for him, and I just really enjoy books set in one setting. Like, it's set on a remote island, and that's the only setting you'll ever like see in this book because the setting and the island is so important to the story. So it follows 10 people who go to an island. They're all invited for like a getaway, and they're all kind of very confused because they all don't know each other, but they're all somewhat connected because they were all invited by one particular person. And as the days go on, and as they are like enjoying their vacation on this island, people start dying every single day, and it follows a particular poem to a T, and it is called The 10 Little Indians, I believe. So as each guest is being killed off in this island, they have to come to terms with the fact that each single person on this island has committed a terrible act that they're all trying to hide from each other. And basically the reason why they're invited to this island is a form of revenge for the actions that they have committed. It's a very dark novel. It's so good. I love every single adaptation that they've made for And Then There Were None, and I just think the concept is so cool, where these 10 people are invited to one place and they're stuck in that particular place for the entire storyline. I think one-setting novels, that's what I call the trope. I think one-setting novels are so interesting, and I feel like the setting itself becomes a character in the story, and it's just so well done, and it's so good. If you have not read an Agatha Christie novel and you don't know where to start, I highly recommend And Then There Are None. If you just want a mystery novel to read, I also highly recommend And Then There Were None. It's so good, and the mini series show that they created that was like 4 hours long was phenomenal. I wish I had the DVD of it. I want it so bad. It is such a wonderful adaptation of this story, and I could talk about this book forever. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it for scary, spooky times in October. Another book that I would recommend that you read this month is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This follows a group of theater majors and theater nerds in college, and they all love doing Shakespearean plays, and they all do Shakespearean plays every single semester. So one semester they're doing a Shakespearean play, and one of the members of the group is murdered. And what's interesting about this book is that the characters that they play in the Shakespearean play influences their own personality. So they kind of become the roles they play in the Shakespearean play, which I believe is King Lear. I have not read King Lear, so I feel like if I read King Lear, I would connect more to this novel. But if you're looking for a dark academia novel, if you're looking for Shakespearean references in a story, this one has so many. And if you're just looking for a nice mystery to read, I would highly recommend this one. This one was very interesting. I would not recommend it if you do not like Shakespeare, because the amount of Shakespeare references in this book is like obscene, and it's wonderful, and I love it so much. But if you don't like Shakespeare, you're probably not gonna like this book. But if you're a fan of The Secret History, this is a good book to follow up with, because it's very much dark academia, and it's very interesting because it's a group of people who are kind of like pompous, and they think they're so different in college, and they all have like these very distinct personalities, and it's just really interesting. I thought it was a very well written novel, and I wish M.L. Rio would come out with more books, because I want to read more by this author, because they are incredibly talented, and this book was such a good debut novel. The next book that I would recommend that you read in October is a book that I read in one sitting in the library one day, and it was the cutest graphic novel in the world, most probably one of my favorite graphic novels ever, and it is called Pumpkinheads. And Rainbow Rowell and an illustrator teamed up to create this adorable autumnal, cute, Halloween-y type of a book. It follows two teenagers who are about to go off to college, so it's their last year working at this pumpkin patch type of festival. And they're kind of seasonal friends. You know, those types of friends that you only see during a certain time of the year. You consider them your friend, but you wouldn't necessarily hang out with each other outside of the place that you're meeting up in, like college or a club. You're friends with them in that setting, but never outside of that setting. So that's Deja and Josiah. So it's their last day at the pumpkin patch, and Josiah has had this crush on this one girl in the pumpkin patch for years, for the amount of time that they worked at the pumpkin patch. So Deja's like, alright, we're gonna do it. This is our last day at the pumpkin patch. We're going to make you meet this girl so you can finally talk to her and tell her how you feel. And basically the whole entire graphic novel is them going through the entire pumpkin patch trying to find this particular girl. And as they're going through the pumpkin patch, they're going through the different activities that they have at the pumpkin patch. They're talking about the treats that they have at the pumpkin patch. They're talking about the shenanigans that happen at the pumpkin patch, and it is the cutest thing ever. If you ever want a graphic novel that is just pure happiness and cuteness and coziness, I would highly recommend this one. It got me into the autumnal spirit, and it was just the perfect read in the world. It was such a cute story, and I just loved it so much. It was such an adorable little graphic novel, and I definitely need to get myself a copy of it because it is so cute, and I need a copy to add to my shelf because it was just the cutest thing and the most adorable thing in the world. And I think that everyone should read it. If you're a big fan of autumn and just like Halloween, I would highly recommend that you pick up Pumpkinheads for the month of October to get into that cute little spirit of like Halloween and drinking apple cider and like having cute snacks. Oh, so cute. Another graphic novel that I would highly recommend that you read is Mooncakes. And Mooncakes is a graphic novel novel following a girl who is a witch, and she works at her grandmother's bookstore. And one day she follows this kind of tip because she investigates paranormal activities in her town, and she goes to the woods and finds her childhood best friend fighting a demon horse. And after the demon horse is like trapped and they have to figure out what to do with it, she's also connecting with her childhood friend, and they're dealing with the fact that they have more than friends feelings for each other. And it just has some cute autumnal like elements to it. It's just like a witch working in a bookstore. Like, how much more autumny can you get? It's so freaking cute. The art style is gorgeous. The paranormal elements of the story just really get you into the Halloweeny spirit, and it's just such a cute graphic novel. I loved it so much, and I just highly recommend that one for everyone who loves autumn. The next book that I would recommend that you would read in this month is Lambeth Lost by Zoraida Cordova, and this is a story following a group of sisters. Alex is a bruja. They're all brujas, but she doesn't want to be a bruja. So she casts a spell that accidentally makes all of her family disappear. Because she wanted to take away her power, she casted that spell, but she didn't know that that spell would backfire and kind of ruin her whole life. So in an attempt to find her family, she goes deep into like this paranormal realm and tries to find her family with the help of her best friend and with the help of a boy that she like kind of hates and like can't deal with. This is actually a series. This is the first book in this series. The second book is Bruja Born, which I loved even more. And I feel like if you want to read about witches, if you want to read about brujas, if you want to read about sisterly bonds, I would highly recommend this series. It's so wonderful, so underrated in the YA realm, and it's great for Halloween time. Last but most certainly not least, because it's like one of my favorite series in the world, is The Diviners by Libba Bray. Because we have to be on brand here, we have to talk about the 1920s. Old sports. If you have not read The Diviners, I need you to just fix that, because you are missing out on one of the best YA series from like the OG YA times. This came out in like peak YA history. Let's see what year it came out in. Oh my god, it's signed. I forgot I met Libba Bray. Wow. My mind. This came out in freaking 2012. What's more peak YA than 2012 YA? So, if you do not know what The Diviners is about, it is about a girl named Evie O'Neill. She's kind of a brat, and she's kind of like an annoying socialite, and she gets shipped off to live with her uncle in New York City, and she thinks that New York City is going to be a grand old time. She's gonna be a flapper, she's gonna go to speakeasy, she's gonna just like really live it up in the 20s, and like I don't blame her. Like, go do what you have to do. I wholeheartedly support your ideas. But then she realizes that her uncle is kind of a weirdo. He's obsessed with everything that has to do with the occult. And then one day he is called to a murder scene where this girl has been killed and she's been covered by these weird symbols, and the uncle has to figure out why these symbols are there, what is happening. I don't know if her name's Evie or Evie. I'm gonna call her Evie. And Evie gets involved in this particular mystery and finds out that like this like demon guy named Naughty John has come up from the grave and is kind of haunting New York City. So with the help of a group of misfits that she meets throughout the series, they kind of team up and try and fight against these paranormal elements that are haunting New York City during the 1920s. So not only do you get a wonderful historical fiction novel full of 1920s lingo and full of 1920s like references and just like pieces of history, you also get a really freaking creepy, scary storyline, and that continues for the entire series. I loved the first book so much. The second one was alright, wasn't really into it, but the third one, that one was so freaking good as well. The Diviners is such an underrated book because I feel like it's a very big book. It's very difficult to get people to read the book because it's so big, and every single book in this series seems to get bigger and bigger. So a lot of people haven't picked it up, but they're meaning to, and I get that, and I want you to pick it up so badly. So if you're looking for a reason to pick up The Diviners, pick it up in October. What better time to read The Diviners than in October when it's spooky, it's cold outside, it's chilly, it's dark outside, and the sun goes down a little bit quicker, and it's kind of annoying. It makes us all sad, but it's fine. And you should just read The Diviners in October. Or you could wait till 2020 and you could read it with me starting January 1st because I want to do a Diviners readathon because 2020's old sport, we're gonna be flappers again. It's gonna be time. We're gonna be flappers. This is a book that I can rant and rave about and I love it so much and I cannot wait to reread it, and I just think it's the perfect book to read in the spooky times because, wow. This book genuinely scares me sometimes when I think about it because Naughty John is such a wonderful villain and a creepy man who is not even alive, and it's just, wow. His mind. Those are the books that I would highly recommend that you read in October. If you have not read any of these books and you want to learn a little bit more about them, feel free to put any questions down below. I would love to answer them. If you have any other spooky recommendations, especially audiobooks, please put them down below. I would love to hear them in the month of October. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed all my excitement about these spooky books that I highly recommend that every single person read because they're all so amazing and wonderful and creepy, and what a time. Thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this entire video, and I hope you have a wonderful but spooky day, and I will see you in another video. Bye!